Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 60 of Rocket Lab Weekly. It's been a very exciting week. I've been basically gone from YouTube. You guys will never guess it. We did Rocket Lab Weekly. I literally turned off the computer. I went to my wife and she's like, my labor has started. So we went from Rocket Lab Weekly to the hospital, and I got baby number 4 last week. Woo!
Nice, congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm gonna show you some pictures just to keep it cool. But I want to hear first, how is everyone's week? I guess we have minted a lot of new Rocket Lab millionaires. Maybe you guys are one of them also. So how was your week?
Probably less exciting than yours. Yeah.
yeah, ours is just money. You're bringing people into the world. That's really cool.
Yeah.
No, it's been a good week. Portfolio's doing I think we're at all-time highs now, if you include the crypto and whatnot. So feeling pretty good about that. And then aside from that, I mean, we got our first big snowfall of the year, so everyone's forgot how to drive. Yeah, you too, hey? Yeah, it's always funny, that first snowfall. It's like people are all over the road, like blowing through intersections, hitting ditches, and it's like, guys, take it easy. It's just like this every year. But always a fun time.
Yeah, it's like driving with a bunch of 16-year-olds again. Yeah, so for me, portfolio all-time highs. Not million on Rocket Lab yet, but about halfway there, which is kind of fun and cool. So that's been fun. So it just continues to add to the whole portfolio. Everything's strong. Just trying to keep an even head, because I know it goes up just as quickly as it goes back down. That's kind of a lie. Normally it goes up more than it goes down, but I'm just trying to keep an even head because everything seems to be doing extremely well. And so I'm just kind of preparing myself to figure out and understand, these positions that are in my portfolio, are these really the things that I'm holding for the long haul? Because if I'm adding to those positions, I want to make sure that, they're not just going to drop 80, 90%, and I'm not going to continue to add to them, and I'm just going to forget about them. And I think during periods where you have this sort of expansion in the market and everything's doing extremely well, people tend to add things because everything's going up. And so people just unfortunately, or fortunately, the way you look at it, have easy money kind of flow into the portfolio, and they think that they're pretty much geniuses. So just kind of take, I don't want to say a chill pill, but take everything with a grain of salt, and recognize what things in your portfolio are the things that are there for the long haul. Because when the going gets tough, you'll want to take the positions that are kind of auxiliary and put them deeper into something like Rocket Lab, which I'm sure most of you guys would probably put it into that are in the chat, or higher, stronger convicted stocks like Palantir. Palantir to get to it at a reasonable price. I'm not buying right now, but if it were to get back to a reasonable price, sell off some of the the things that are kind of fattier and move them into the muscle, like Palantir or Rocket Lab. So
yeah, you guys know the saying, be fearful when others are greedy, and be be greedy when others are fearful. Exactly. Sorry, my sleep is not fully in yet. It's getting better and better. But yeah, this is definitely the period when a lot of people are greedy, and it's definitely, I think, time to exercise some caution and humility, and remember that it's amazing that your portfolio is up, in some cases over 100% in a year. Not every year is like this. There's going to, it's mathematically impossible for, this to repeat and repeat and repeat. And like Rocket Lab has gone up 300% in 3 months, and I'm going to sound Vince is bearish. This is the Vince is bearish section. I can guarantee you we're not going to go up 350% the next 3 months, and it just mathematically cannot continue only up. So yeah, that is the caution of the day. So I just want to show the little one to you guys. This is my son who just washed his hair. He has much nicer hair than me. Luckily, it's from the mother's family. And I made this joke, that my wife is complaining that I always talk about stocks and I need to tone it down. And then I promised her I will do the best. And then also me. And look at the onesie that he's wearing. It's actually the courtesy of Curtis. Call me Curtis. He sent it to us. He's super nice. I really appreciated that he did this, and I included a link here for his merch shop. It's very high quality, and if you guys are interested, you can of course check that out. Cool. So I think let's start off with some Rocket Lab news. What do you guys say?
You did note that Curtis has that shop, so he did note to me. I don't know if he reached out to you, Vince, that he's happy to give away 3 Rocket Lab plaques for those people that are new subscribers to the channel. So for me, I know I'm personally going to hope that you guys come to my channel, subscribe, and whoever writes the funniest comment, Rocket Lab related, underneath the live stream after the show is over, and is a new subscriber, will get a placard free from Curtis. So sponsored by Covert Shirts, which the website's hysterical. If you guys haven't been there, I'm going to continue a partnership with Curtis as well with other things in the future. So hope that goes well. We can come up with some good designs for you guys to enjoy. But Vince, do you have any special requirements for your placard?
We haven't finished with Curtis yet. He has been, I think, very kind and gave me some space because of the childbirth. And I actually started speaking to him a few hours before the show. So he told me that like there will be something, but yeah, we haven't finished it yet. But yeah, something is coming also on my side.
And he said the third one is for you as well, Scotto. So if anybody is a new subscriber to your channel, however you want to reward them for subscribing, you have one for your availability as well.
But did he say I also have 3?
He told me 3. Yeah, he told me 1 for each of us. So Curtis, kindly I'm messaging him on WhatsApp. So if I'm wrong, scold me now so I can be a.
We're like giving away Curtis's stuff here.
Curtis has now declared bankruptcy from all
exactly.
The
Yeah. Okay. So we got a super chat here from Uncle Clay's Orchard. Probably butchered that name. Sorry. I'm up over 450K. Thanks to you guys giving me conviction. I've been investing in the stock market for a long time, and I always tell people conviction is so important. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Uncle Clay's. Cool. So yeah, we figure out this Curtis thing. Yeah, 1 for each YouTube channel. Yeah, then I go with the same thing as Matt said. So new subscriber, and the best comment gets a placard. How do you see if somebody is a new subscriber when you go over the comments?
Well, to be specific, they'd have to like let people visualize who they subscribe to, but in reality, I'm just going to look at it by visualization. If I see somebody whose name I've never seen before, generally the people come back week after week, right? So luckily, I keep pretty good count of new people. So, yeah. But for you have so many subscribers, so I don't know. It might be harder to.
You have like double the size of me, but okay, thanks. Cool guys. Okay, so let's start with Rocket Lab news. The first one that I wanted to take up is an interesting one. Peter Beck, the one who always said that it's very tough for him because all his competitors are the richest men on the planet and they're all billionaires, actually joined the billionaire club. He's a very freshly minted billionaire. He touched it last week a little bit, but this week actually the stock closed way over $20. As he says in the tweet, I'll mention again, the dishwasher guy with no college education from New Zealand, which had no space economy, created $4 billion in wealth for retail investors around the world. So I don't know if we can give an applause or something, but yeah, very well done. What do you guys think is the significance of this news? If any, I mean, does it give better financing, credibility, or anything like this to Rocket Lab?
I don't know. I suppose, and I if I remember, I don't know. I think it was from the book, when the heavens went on sale. I'm pretty sure that's where it's from anyways. I remember there's something about Peter saying to his now wife, he's like, I'm gonna make $1 million for this family. So I think he met and exceeded that in a big way. So I'm sure his wife's over the moon with that.
Yeah. By the way, Stan Marge here is making a very good point that the other guys, they actually made their billions from other ventures. So Peter Beck might be the first actual space billionaire. Like he became a billionaire.
True.
Yeah, it's actually a very good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I do want to highlight, like, I think one of the things that Bezos was most proud of wasn't necessarily the amount of money, because everyone knows how many hundreds of billions he made from creating Amazon. But I think what he was most excited about was how many other millionaires and billionaires he had created, right? He talked about how many billions of dollars of wealth he had created, or $1 trillion actually of wealth that he had created for his shareholders over the years. And so it's nice to be able to have your own sort of company. I hope in some sort of way, shape, or form I could do something in the future for others. I mean, I'm kind of doing it in my own little way by being kind of a messenger for the company and making sure that the ticker gets out there and people know about it. And I think we've done a pretty good job. But I think these guys are the real ones that are putting in the real effort, right? I'm kind of a proxy, and so that $4 billion number would probably make me feel insanely good, just knowing how many people whose lives are changing based off of the great work that they're executing. And they're not even done. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's they're where SpaceX is, right? These guys have so much more to go. They haven't even gotten their second HASTE launch off yet. That's a whole new revenue stream. They haven't even gotten the first Neutron launch off. That's a whole new revenue stream. And so for people to think that they're going to stop at, I guess, $11.5 billion, I would just say, watch this space, because in 5 years' time, and I'm not going to say next year or 2 years from now, because I think that maybe if you want to put my feet to the fire and say, yeah, pre-launch 11.5 billion might be a little bit fair value or high value compared, but in terms of after launch, and you actually get some contracts under your belt, more than the ones that we have, and you have an actual Falcon 9 competitor, $11.5 billion seems pretty damn cheap, right? So, because the sky's literally the limit, or at least $200 billion at that point is kind of the limit. So very cool that we're all here, and week after week we kind of have this little shrine, go to church, I guess, if you will, to celebrate Beck and the team.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And by the way, we have an interview scheduled with Sir Peter Beck, but it keeps being pushed. I keep getting emails from Rocket Lab. Sorry, guys, we have to do this again. We move it a few days. I'm guessing it's because he's working very hard on Neutron. The same thing happened with the payload. They did an interview last week, which was also moved, and then in the end he got an interview where Peter was being live streamed, like from the test site, and he was like showing things. And to be honest, I don't mind that this is happening. Obviously, the rocket is the most important, and I'm very happy to speak to Peter whenever. Cool. So we go to the next one. There is a new launch coming on the 25th of October. This is Kinesis third launch. Scotto, I've not been in this so much because of the birth, but I would guess that you're very on top of this. How many launches have they had in this quarter? Have they had HASTE launches, and how many HASTE launches are we seeing on the horizon?
Yeah, so we've got one launch under our belt. We have that confidential, that 10-week launch that happened November 5th, so a couple weeks ago. And then in, I guess, what is that, like a couple hours, I guess? I think it's 6 o'clock my time. So like, yeah, 2 hours and 40 minutes, allegedly, unless it's been moved back, we're getting a HASTE launch.
Is it that soon? It's 1 day from now, no? It's the 25th of November and 24th. Easter time, 10 p.m. I think it's tomorrow night.
It's November, like, I don't know, maybe
it's for the Kinesis mission now. Or am I confused?
Oh, hold on. Sorry, guys. I'm talking about like there's a haste launch before Knies, which is
Yes.
gonna be
Yeah.
Knies is like
Ah,
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So we have
I'm,
like
I'm
Knies.
searching Twitter and I'm not finding it. We had a guy on the ground on the 21st, and he's a photographer, and he's not able to make it the past 2 days. Have you seen anything, Scott?
Yeah, I've got like 3 live streams lined up. So I don't know, like they're not official, but there's people that are
Oh,
down there filming the sky, expecting it to go off in less than 3 hours. So yeah, Mopbox is saying haste is tonight, so it seems like it's still on. Yeah, it'll be 2 hours and 40 minutes from
and can
now.
you remind me, Scott? They have one more. Tomorrow's the last day, or is this the last day? No, the 24th is the last day.
Oh, 25th is the last day. Yeah.
25th. Okay.
And then an hour or 1 day, and then one day 55 minutes after tonight's launch, if all goes well, we have the Knies launch taking off from New Zealand.
wow. So that's a new record, right? Because the fastest turnaround
yeah.
has been like seven days or something.
Yeah, 7 days, 10 hours. I mean, granted, that's from 2 different sites, but yeah, it still holds. So it'll be 1 day and 55 minutes. It was almost the Knies one got pushed back, but we were almost going to have 2 launches within an hour.
Yeah.
So that would have been really cool. But even still,
You,
I mean,
Scott, you're better at this stuff than I am. Do you know what SpaceX's quickest turnaround is?
From what I saw, 10 hours. I'm not sure if there's something.
That sounds probably right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not from the same site though, or
Right. No. Like the one right away, the one today is from Virginia, and then the Knies one is going to be from New Zealand.
So Rocket Lab almost beat a SpaceX record.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, almost. That's pretty cool. So that's 3 for this quarter. How many more is on the horizon for this quarter?
I'll preface saying these aren't confirmed. This is just what I'm tracking. So I have haste still. There's still another haste expected December. Black Sky's been a little bit like back and forth with their terminology, but it should still be December. And then another from Knies. And then Synspective's a maybe. I'm not sure about them. And then all the other dates are like 2025 and onward.
So we're still on track for 6 launches this quarter.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Wow. And the 6 launches would put us at how many?
What is that? That's 18, right? Or no, sorry, -1 for methane. 17 total if we get the 6 in the quarter.
Wow. That's pretty okay.
Yep.
Cool. So we go on to the next one. I mean, I want to take this up. I know we sounded a little bit bearish, maybe a little bit, but I'm going to say this on the bullish side, or actually like not on the. Okay, you're gonna understand when we go into it. So there was a director who sold $96 million worth of Rocket Lab shares. This is basically insider selling, and some people think that it's, oh my god, super bad when insiders sell. And keep in mind, guys, that there is a lot of reasons insiders sell. Adam Spice usually sells Rocket Lab shares because he gets paid in stock-based compensation, and then to cover his taxes, he has to sell Rocket Lab shares. And this tweet also says, remember that Peter Beck sold 3.6 million shares in September 11, 2023, probably around $4 or $5, and the stock is up 343% since then. So I want to get your guys' take on this news, and how normal do you think that this is?
I mean, there's a pretty big sell-off in terms of a percentage. It's 53% of what is owned. And worth mentioning, they're indirectly owned, so it's like technically a fund that the shares are held in, though it is basically through one of the directors. But what was the other guy's name? I think it was Michael Griffin.
Yeah.
He sold a big chunk recently as well, and we were kind of speculating similarly, like, well, what's going on? Because it was, he's kind of selling fairly aggressively, and that was more towards the end of his stay as being on the board of directors with Rocket Lab. And I think that's similar with what we're seeing with Matthew Oko, where this might just be the end of his being on the board. So it's probably nothing of too much of a concern. But granted, I mean, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's trimming or what exactly, but what do you think, Matt? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I always take this SBC stuff with a grain of salt. I mean, some of these guys have worked so hard, you know, and been in the company for so long that, to me, I think that they probably say it's time. And then, like you stated, I mean, a lot of these guys these directors end up getting paid so much in stock-based compensation anyway. They know that there's going to be future money kind of coming in. So to me, what's the difference between 100 million and a billion? You know, like, what are you really going to do? I mean, I think everyone can kind of understand there might be small things that you can do as a billionaire that you can't do as somebody that's a 100 millionaire. So this guy probably took the opportunity to take a little bit of a breather and take his shares off the table, or at least partially. I don't know. To me, I mean, let's just be frank. I mean, if the stock went to the moon here and went to like $50, I'd probably take some shares, right? Especially with pre-Neutron, right? It doesn't make sense right then for shares to kind of be where they're at. But to me, I also recognize that in the future, you know, the stock could be worth north of $50 billion market cap. It just kind of depends on when. It's just hard to quantify. So anyway, I don't think it's stupid. These guys probably know way more than we do about how much on a quarterly basis they're getting in shares. And at the same time, you know, they need money, right? This is what they've been working for quite some time. So
yeah. So we all agree it's not a bear sign. Like it makes you think, you know, it's like I wouldn't call it a red flag, but it's like a flag, but it's not a bearish sign. There's a lot of reasons to sell, and there's only one reason when insiders buy a stock. And that's more of a sign, I think, that I would look out for.
Mopbox is also mentioning that one of the other, I think he's a director as well, John Olson, he sold 50,000 shares, but still holds 430,000. So very, like, not even a 5% cut, really.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning.
All right. Now, on the next one, I wanted to take this up. Again, I think, Scotto, you're a very right person to take this up with. So Rocket Lab is shipping fantastically sexily packed and packaged reaction wheels for Constellation customers. If I'm not mistaken, these reaction wheels, they cost like 100,000 each. Is it? Yeah. Yep. So this is a fairly valuable pallet. Like, you're looking at multi-million dollars here. Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about this? Like, what are we looking at here, and why is this good for Rocket Lab?
I wish I could. I don't know. I mean, it's good for Rocket Lab because, like you said, allegedly, I mean, the wheels, if you go on the site, this particular wheel, this is the 12 NMS wheel, and they sell for 100 to 120,000 a pop. Granted, if you are going to be ordering in bulk, which this customer is, they're expecting, if the numbers are still true, north of 2,000 of these reaction wheels this year alone. Now, if they're ordering that many at one given time, you can expect a meaningful discount, but like, I'm not sure exactly how steep that discount would be, but trust me when I say that I've got a couple questions for Peter and Adam.
Yeah. Call me Curtis.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, Call Me Curtis says that this is probably Kuiper reaction wheels, and maybe they are. But yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Maybe, yeah, for sure. So reaction wheels, I'm not the best at explaining this. By no means am I some sort of aeronautical or aerospace engineer, but basically it's used to offset, kind of the attitude of the specific satellites to be able to kind of rotate it, right? So basically it's using, I don't know, maybe Scott's way better at kind of explaining it, but it allows the ability to change how the satellite is moving throughout space without using jets or anything like that, or rockets in this case. So allows you on a very low energy basis, maybe controllable through solar panels. I'm not 100% certain, but will allow you to adjust the satellite's trajectory a little bit. So that's basically what it's used for. Think if you have like a little wheel and there's the ability to kind of rotate it to be able to switch the center of gravity of the particular object that you're trying to maneuver, and that's really what the reaction wheel is. So it's basically the circular thing that allows you to control that.
Yeah, and typically in each craft there's 3 to 4 of these. So with this 2000 reaction wheel delivery, that puts us around 500 to 667 craft that these would be for, to kind of give you an idea of what the constellation size could be. But as far as I'm sure this isn't just like a one and done, right? Because constellations need replenishing. So I'm curious if that's going to be an expected annual rate or if that's something that's going to drop off. But that kind of gives us a ballpark of the scope of who we're providing for.
Yeah. But do you know that this is the 2000 order or?
No, but it's like, yeah, I mean, there's been enough
rumors,
breadcrumbs. Yeah, it's like the high volume reaction wheel is the 12 NMS wheels, and if I'm not sure which other wheel they are mass producing like this. So
yeah, okay, fair point.
It's not explicit, but yeah, basically, yeah.
It's an educated guess.
Yeah.
Cool. So the next one is Peter Beck gave an interview. We kind of touched it a little bit earlier to Payload Space. Have you guys seen this interview?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen clips. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch all of it.
Okay. I'm curious about what you guys think. I think it was a fantastically done interview, and my only takeaway from it is that on the earnings call, Peter Beck said that Neutron is scaling, like 1 launch 2025, 3 launches 2026, and 5 launches in 2027. And now he said in this interview, when he was asked again, it was like 3 maybe more, and then 5 maybe more. So I was like, that's a very interesting opening. But I'm curious, what is your guys' takeaway from this interview?
I mean, that's the big one for me as well. It seems like they're kind of adjusting their terminology in terms of what to expect for that Neutron demand. And some of you might see, I made a video like kind of regarding Neutron demand, and it's just, I don't know what, like Adam and Peter have mentioned in the past before, like demand's not going to be an issue, but like when you really start like kind of putting it together, you're like, oh, like it's really not going to be an issue. And like so much to the point where like a talking point I often hear is like, well, as soon as Neutron and Falcon 9 are both in the market, it's going to drive everything down. But to kind of offset that, it's like you got to consider the number of constellations that are going to be simultaneously trying to be deployed. And when Rocket Lab mentions this like $50 to $55 million price target, I mean, they're going to get that easy. And if anything, I think the prices are going to drive up, because I mean, try booking with literally anyone at this point. You're going to be sitting on your hands for 2, 3, maybe a few more years than that even. So if you want something to space, you're gonna pay for that, and it's like, to see Rocket Lab's $50 million price tag. It's like, I think that's the baseline.
By the way, that video that you mentioned, I want to see if I can add it to the comment section. It was a really good video. I wanted to repost it actually, about the demand for Neutron. I honestly recommend people who are here to watch that video if you have not watched it. It's really quite interesting, the demand for Neutron, as you said. Like, it's really not a problem. Like, no. really not a problem. Matt, do you have any takeaways from this interview?
I haven't watched much of it other than small clips that I've seen here on YouTube, and excited to finally dive into it. Just haven't had the opportunity. Been chasing around little ones, nieces and nephews, while I'm here on vacation. So
No problem, no problem. By the way, I forgot to ask you: is that your Airbnb that you're in?
yeah, this is the pool house of one of the places. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Okay. Cool. That I think I don't have any more Rocket Lab related news. I only have space related news now. One of them is Alien Space posted an interview with a California congressman who is submitting a bill that would take out. He's introducing legislation to get the FAA out of the picture and to move the Office of Commercial Space Transportation out of the jurisdiction of the FAA. I don't fully know what I only understand that the FAA is not going to be involved, and that will make life simpler. This is obviously super bullish for Rocket Lab. Do you guys know anything more than this? Or Matt, you're from the US, like, can you explain to us why it's good that it's not under the FAA? Or yeah.
I don't know. I think the FAA has maybe overstepped a little bit of its boundaries, but at the same time, if you've observed a little bit about what has happened, it's more along the lines of the FAA, even if they do ground somebody, it's not like the FAA is doing specifically for orbital launches, right? It's not like the FAA is truly doing too much with respect to the investigations. They mostly let the corporations do the investigations themselves. So if you remember when we had that anomaly back in September of 2023 with that one launch where the second stage failed, it wasn't FAA required for us to kind of ground initially. It was really just our internal thoughts as to, like, our, meaning Rocket Lab's thoughts as to why we need to do it. It was Rocket Lab that carried out the investigation. It wasn't the FAA that carried out some sort of investigation. I think it really only, what I don't know, and so this is me just being transparent with everybody, I don't necessarily know where the FAA would step in, because I know from an airplane perspective, they step in when there's any sort of wrongdoing or people unfortunately die or there's some sort of crash that requires some sort of emergency landing. So I don't know where the FAA would step in and what that boundary is for, say, for orbital launches. But I do know that they've forced SpaceX to ground launches in the past after certain anomalies have happened or failed landing attempts. So I don't know the whole ins and out of the regulatory body, but I think in reality, I think what probably is better to do, specifically since we now have a space force, is likely to create something that's specific around the space industry rather than the aerospace industry, if that makes sense, because they are kind of tackling different things. And at the moment, granted, this may change in the future, we're not really sending as much people via these orbital rockets as it would be. And generally speaking, if it is, there's so many eyes on it that it requires probably way less oversight from a regulatory body perspective, because you already have so many capable companies. But to be answering your question, I mean, I'm not necessarily the best person to answer the question, but I do think that there could be a separate regulatory body that would be best fitted for specific space regulation, just based on the fact that it's going to continue to grow.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that explanation. Curtis also commented here, the Office of Commercial Space Transportation was initially its own entity, and then it was put under the FAA. So now they're back on their own. I mean, they're not back yet, but they might be back on their own. Do you guys think that there can be a world where they like certify a rocket, like they say like Neutron is good to fly, and like as long as there is no like issues, and then they just, because I don't get the logic, like how do you, like, I get the logic of why you need a license for every launch, but where I don't get the logic is that if you like launch you know, like you go from 5 times to 10, then you need to do like an environmental assessment and a this assessment, and you know, you need to speak to the neighbors about the noise, and because normally, like, I think if you approve that, okay, this place is like out in the desert or whatever, and you know, you're not really bothering anyone, and the environment is safe, then it should be okay to launch 50 times, no? Or maybe I'm completely mistaken here.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of how I see it as well. Yeah.
We're armchair CEOing this thing, you know. we're not engineers or anything, but we would do it better. Anyways, cool. The next news was very interesting to me. Vulcan's next launch and its first national security mission will now slip into 2025. Vulcan still hasn't launched an NSSL Phase 2 mission, and the program is supposed to end in 2026. So what's ironic on this is Rocket Lab got attacked for not having, for wanting to be in the NSSL Phase 3 Tranche 1, I think, or Tranche 2. I never remember which tranche, because they didn't have a credible way to launch before December, and that lane was like for the newcomers, you know. And in this NSSL Phase 2, they were only approving, you know, like proven establishment companies. And despite that, ULA was not able to launch a single one, and the NSSL Phase 2 is soon ending. So yeah, I'm curious to hear your guys' take on this, because I guess clearly the government wants more actors to be launching the national security payloads, because some actors are clearly just not working out.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add to this, but I'll kind of answer indirectly. For those kind of familiar with my channel, I'll often post videos of Rocket Lab's manifest, and that was originally like a kind of like a final exam for like this coding course that I took a while back. And I thought it'd be a cool idea to track all of the small launch providers. So we have, you know, Astra, Able's there, Firefly, Rocket Lab, etc. Relativity is there as well. And over the years, it's gone from being all of these providers to now basically Rocket Lab and Firefly. But if you look at Firefly's backlog, it's like there are a lot of launches still. And it's like, it just kind of, I don't think Firefly is in the healthiest state. And you gotta wonder where are all these launches going to go? Those spacecraft need to go somewhere. And kind of to what we were talking earlier, it's like the future demand looks crazy, but then when you also factor in, what about all of these providers who have all these customers that aren't able to provide for them? It's going to turn into an absolute scramble. And I think that's what we're seeing here. It's like, hey, the program's almost closed, and we haven't, like, we're already looking for the next phase, but we haven't even launched the first one. So it's like, hey, quick, get them out the door. Rocket Lab's, you know, 50 million per launch. Okay, we'll offer them 55 if they can do it a month earlier. Offer them 60, and it's just, I don't know. It's going to be a bottleneck. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a bottleneck.
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
You don't know
Vince,
anything?
Vince, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like if we just look at mathematics, so let's say that a constellation, let's say the Amazon Kuiper constellation makes, I don't know, $400 million a year, or maybe billions of dollars a year, right? For them to wait a year with the launch, or to pay $10 million more for a launch that can, you know, fly within 10 weeks or whatever they did with the Electron, is like a no-brainer, right? And you can see here, as also Scott mentioned, that it's a very good example that the NSSL was trying to launch payloads, and despite having companies with available rockets, it's still not happening. The payloads are on the ground. So it looks like there is competition and there is other rockets, but you still get your payload up. And Amazon is going through this with their Kuiper, because they also contracted ULA, New Glenn, I think the Orion 6, and very reluctantly SpaceX, and their satellites are also, I think they have launched now with SpaceX, but none of the others have, or was it with ULA they have launched? Anyways, they had like 1 or 2 launches now, but their constellation is still mostly on Earth, which is crazy. Okay, and so we go to the next one, and we had a Starship launch this week, which didn't end up being a tower catch because there was some sensors wrong on the booster, so it ended up being 2 soft water landings. But Starship is getting very close to flying commercial payloads, where the payload is not going to be only the information anymore. This is a chart of the number of launch days between Starship launches, and the trend is very clear. And this is an article from Eric Berger, where SpaceX president talks about that she thinks that within a few years they will reach 400 launches, or it wouldn't surprise her. Okay, her quote is that it took them 10 years to do 400 flights with Falcon 9, and she wouldn't be surprised if within 3 years they have 400 launches with Starship, which is really, really, really crazy. So my question to you guys is that I know Starlink is launching very, very rapidly, and there's a lot of demand from SpaceX to launch Starlink satellites. But other than Starlink, is there even demand for that many launches on Starship? And would that siphon away a whole market from Rocket Lab and Neutron?
I mean, if that is the case, I'm definitely going to be eating my words from earlier in the episode about that bottleneck. But I mean, it's going to be fascinating to watch. And yeah, 403 years, that's crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, time will tell. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know. Time will tell how many people. I mean, I really think it just all depends on how many different satellites you can really push up into space with a single Starship. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's tough to see. I mean, I haven't really seen what their, other than Mars and going to Mars, I haven't seen what their use cases of it. But in terms of the Falcon 9, I mean, I think there's definitely demand for that. I think there's going to be continuing to grow demand, especially once kind of, especially as the end-to-end piece comes in, because I think right now where you have a problem is you'll have people that may have an application that they want to put up into space, but they don't know how to go about doing it, nor do they have the capital to do it. But if you come up with an end-to-end solution and have the economies of scale like a Rocket Lab, you'll be able to at least call them up. So you can almost create your own sort of satellite demand just based off the fact that you can build it from scratch for whomever you want, with not just one purpose, right? You can do deep space technology, you can do pharmaceutical zero G sort of investigations. And so I think that the use cases are continuing to be built out as we've seen the family of satellite designs grow. And so I don't know. I'm just more confident that I think we'll see more and more. And I think not only that, but I think if you see Astroscale continue to do well with respect to their routing, not routing, rallying and collecting space junk and being able to clean up kind of the low Earth orbit to make sure that there's space for decommissioned satellites and stuff like that to kind of be brought down to Earth and recycled, then it'll only leave more space. Because obviously there's going to be a problem with congestions going into the future, or people are just going to have to learn how to basically think in 3D or 4D, I guess, depending on how you look at it. Where are the satellite trajectories and how far up in the atmosphere or lack of atmosphere, how far up into orbit do you have to go to be able to avoid all the traffic? And people might be focusing on that piece. And how are you going to do that if you don't necessarily have access to that data? Like maybe Rocket Lab has it, maybe SpaceX has it. So it might be a place where the entry to space is just getting more and more tough, especially as you continue to see the big companies continue to kind of dominate and the other small companies continuing to fall out of favor.
All right. There was a comment here by Dave Huntsman, and he says that basically, it's typical, I don't find the comment when I need it, but yeah, here, that Starship is totally busy until the rest of the decade. And then he mentions that there are several already paid for and scheduled purpose-built Starship payloads. Do you know where we can see this, Dave? Like, do you have a link? It would be actually pretty cool to track this, because I actually am not sure why Starship is it's flight number 6, and why are they always launching with, you know, that the payload is the data. And I'm like, it's like they could get some sort of customers there, and they could like offset the development cost a little bit, like even if they charge 50 million for launch. And do you guys know why they chose not to do that at all and just focus on the development?
I mean, no. Short answer is no. I mean, maybe there's some sort of novelty to having 0 payload rather than trying to like calibrate the machine while trying to also offset for, you know, the extra tons that are in the fairing. That's the only thing I can really think of.
Yeah. No clue on my part also. And do you guys know when they're planning to launch like commercial payloads on Starship? Because on the Falcon 9, they were launching and trying to land it. There was no like in between.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that one.
Yeah.
No, all I've heard is really the SpaceX specific launches that they're trying to do, right? They're trying to launch something in the next 18 months for to go into space, I guess, for Mars, or maybe it's even sooner than that. I'm messing up the dates here, but and then in 4 years' time, when the next window opens, they're hoping they can try to send something. But I think Dave or somebody else said it. Yeah, Dave Huntsman said in the chat. The thing that I'm kind of curious about, and this is where Rocket Lab comes back into play, regardless of whether or not you're thinking, you know, Rocket Lab's not involved in this Mars mission. The LOXSAT and the methane sat things are extremely pertinent to understanding and refueling midair for future missions to going to Mars and or coming back, right? So maybe the coming back piece isn't so hard, but you have to realize how much mass it takes and how much fuel it takes to actually get into orbit a big vehicle like that. And so to be able to get any sort of fuel in midair is going to be huge and critical. So I'm kind of curious as to you almost, if you think about it, might have several Falcon 9s or even Neutrons that throw out these methane satellites into space to be able to be refueled from, to be fuel depots for these missions going to Mars. So it's kind of cool. You almost have like these little gas stations in the future that'll be put out there to be able to help international, or sorry, not international, but space exploration going forward. I'm kind of curious now that we're on the topic. Scott, I feel like you know way more about that than I do. Please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm speaking out of my butt there. But kind of curious, yeah. Like, do you have more of like a strategy as to how that's going to be worked?
No, not really. No.
You just know that it's a mission and they're going to try it out.
Basically.
So, all right, we're in the same boat, man. We're good.
Yeah.
Well, cool, guys. I think this was all the news that I had for this week. I guess usually a burning question when we're hitting all-time highs from the audience is like, are we still undervalued? Would we be buying at this point? What do we think is going to happen with the stock price? And lately, I get a lot of comments on my covered calls which is very understandable. I have $8 cover calls. I hate them every day, increasingly hate them. And but I have a way how to come out of them, so I didn't lose my shares. I'm just going to have to pay with both time and money to go up on the strike prices, and I'm going to do it gradually. But obviously, I have a horrible track record on calling a top on on Rocket Lab, so don't listen to me. But for what it's worth, my opinion is that we cannot keep going up the way we have been. Like, the stock has to rest a little bit for the short term. I think if you have, as Matt said at the beginning of the show, a long time horizon, you're probably still going to do well buying at these levels. You just might have to be part of a pretty big pullback, and yeah. But what do you guys think about? Are you guys adding? Are you trimming? Yeah.
Proceeding with caution, personally. I was looking over the portfolio earlier this week, kind of looking at, who I should trim, kind of comparing this to that. And Redwire actually just passed a 2x for me. So I generally, trim a little, take a little bit if a holding doubles. But with them, I mean, they're at like a price to sales of 3 at the moment still, and that's even after the run up. So I'm kind of like, well, I might just kind of leave that one alone. There's a couple others like that too. But as far as Rocket Lab, though, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of growth, but price to sales is 20. I mean, that's not cheap, but
congrats on the success with Redwire.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm kind of the same place, man. Like, I think, am I saying that? What I will say, this is what I'll say, and you guys can take it with a grain of salt if you want to. If you're looking for the next 6 months or so, and you're like, oh, who knows what's going to happen, then maybe it's okay to take some off the table, But from my perspective, I'm looking 5-10 years down the road. I'm thinking 2027 timeframe, we're going to have $1 billion in revenue. So wherever we're at today, we're only going to be at a price of sales of 11.5 billion if you're looking for fiscal year 2027 numbers. And I think that's only going to be exacerbated as we go into 2028, 29, and 30. So to me, do I think it's overvalued today based off of what we have today, fiscal year 24? Of course, right? But there's next year where we're going to grow into over $600 million in revenue. And the fourth quarter will be a stepping stone to that, of hopefully proving up words of $130 million in a quarter to be able to get us a stepping stone into that $600 million run rate. And keep in mind that $600 million run rate doesn't include any revenue from Neutron, right? That's a solely self-funded Neutron commercial rocket that's going up into space to prove that this is something that the company believes in. And we really won't start to even see any sort of value from Neutron. Maybe we'll see something in December 2025, but I think that that's probably maybe hasty, no pun intended there. But there's still so many things that I think are going right for the company. But then the fact of that is there's still so many things that can go wrong, right? Maybe the haste missions fall off. Maybe Neutron doesn't get as much traction. Maybe it gets delayed. Something can always come out of the woodwork. And so with respect to that, is it expensive today? Yes. But for where I think the company's going in 5 to 10 years, I believe it would be cheap. So I guess it's always just understanding where you, as the investor sitting here watching this, has your risk tolerance, and are you willing to fork up something that isn't in existence yet? And keep in mind, we haven't even gotten to the place where understanding where the constellation comes into play, and what kind of revenue streams we'll be getting from that, or gross margins will be coming from that. Right now, we're playing from a gross margin perspective of maybe 30% if you look at it on an adjusted basis, and that's throughout the entire portfolio, inclusive of launch and space systems. But my thought process is does that climb closer to 40 or 50% once you bring in the constellations? I don't know, right? That's the thing that we're trying to all kind of be in here for. But if you sell today, you won't have access to that potential upside. But at the same time, you'll lock in maybe more than what it should be valued today. So it's kind of in this rock and understanding where you're at. It's the largest stock in my portfolio. I've always kind of kept stocks before they've blown up like this at a 5% or so position of the portfolio. This has obviously grown to over 20% of my portfolio, and I anticipate it growing. For now, I'm not selling any calls or anything like that. If anything, I'm selling maybe some longer term puts and using that to buy some long calls on slight pullbacks, like I've done when it dipped from 22 down to like 16 or 17 after the earnings call. I sold some long calls there, or sorry, sold some long puts. Sorry, sold puts that were out far dated in the future. Took that capital, bought leaps into 2027 to be able to capture and get a little bit more upside on the return. So, I don't know. It's tough to say. It's like, to me, it's a no-brainer to add, just knowing where I think the company's going to go. But at the same time, I feel like there could be other opportunities out there that I'm just not aware of that are probably better buys. It's not a screaming buy like it was. I feel like the easy money the pendulum has swung to being completely hated in the stock market and not very fairly valued, to now being fully valued, in my opinion, and maybe even to the point where we're overvalued if you're not taking into account, where we'll be at in 2026. In 2026, if you're looking at 2026, I think we're undervalued. If you're looking at fiscal year 24, 25, I think we're slightly creeping into that overvalued territory. So that's my thought process.
Very good explanation there. Cool. I don't know. I don't have anything more to add. I think we went through everything that happened this week. Next week is Thanksgiving for our American friends. So happy Thanksgiving, you guys. You don't have Thanksgiving in Canada the same week, no? Or
No, ours is
October,
back in
right?
October. Yeah.
Cool. I do want to say, sorry, I didn't interrupt the turkey talk, but I do want to make sure that people recognize that there is a competition. We have a few more people that joined after we made this. So if you are a new subscriber to either of our channels, make sure you write the funniest comment in the video after the live stream, and we'll select one person to get a free placard, Rocket Lab placard, which I put the link in the description. Sorry, in the chat box. So it's pretty cool. So anybody that wants one, I have one that says Real Map Money, but you'll get one that says Rocket Lab Shareholder. It's really cool. And for anybody else that's interested, maybe Hot Curtis will send you one if you decide to buy it. So sorry, go back to the turkey talk. I like turkey.
So in Canada, do you have it like in October and then it's like the Black Week or Black Friday or whatever after that, or you don't have that?
No, our Black Friday is coming up this upcoming week. But yeah, we had our Thanksgiving was like, I think, the second week in October this past time around. Yeah.
Okay.
Why
who do you guys give thanks to?
I don't know, man.
You don't know?
Okay. Each other, everyone around the table.
To Trudeau, that he didn't tax you 100%, only 50. Thank you for
so far. He'll get there.
So far, yeah. Okay, cool, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and see you guys next week. And I think we will have the interview with Sir Peter Beck and Adam Spice out by next week. We'll see if it doesn't get pushed.
Gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble. All right. Ciao, ciao.
See you guys.
Thank you all.